May 1921, the composer Maurice Ravel moves to Montfort, a picturesque village 45 kilometres from Paris. He has recently acquired Le Belvédère, a small two-storey house at the top of the village. For the first time in his life, he owns a house. It is close to Paris, but far enough away for him to work in peace. A friend of Ravel said the new house was noteworthy because of its narrowness, and that this strange-looking structure resembled a badly sliced piece of camembert. Some would perhaps say that by looking at the house, you could guess who the owner was. At 46, Ravel is at the peak of his career. His music is played all over the world, and his masterpieces have made him the most famous French composer of the time. However, the horror of the First World War, in which he served as a soldier, and the recent death of his mother affected him badly. Le Belvédère and its surroundings are in themselves a painting, and the view over the roofs of the neighbouring houses is a succession of well-kept gardens, trees and fields, and in the distance the Rambouillet forest. When the weather allows, Ravel retires to the balcony. From there he has the impression of being on the bridge of a liner, looking down on his garden, his outdoor sitting room. In this exquisite, small, green jewellery box, Ravel entertains his friends, poets, composers and musicians, whom he affectionately calls Le Petit Cénacle, the Little Cenacle. Often these evenings continue in the fashionable Parisian nightclubs of the time, Le Boeuf sur le Toit or Le Grand Écart. The bedroom is on the same level as the garden and is reached by the stairs from the kitchen. The room is decorated in the Empire style. Little light gets through the heavy curtains, the odd star only just visible through the shutters. Ravel sleeps badly and often wakes late to a breakfast in bed or in the garden with his favourite left-wing newspaper, Le Populaire. Since his youth, he's been a staunch socialist and angered by injustice. Immediately next to the bedroom, the bathroom is meticulously clean and modern. From the towels to the bath mats, all there to maintain Ravel's impeccable appearance. Elegance is an essential part of his life, but also serves to hide his great modesty. On entering Le Belvédère, one is immediately drawn to the collection of trinkets and ornaments, Chinese junk, bric-a-brac, artificial flowers, multicoloured porcelain, and small mechanical music boxes. Ravel designed the small house. One bedroom and a bathroom, a dining room, a Japanese sitting room, a library in which to read and listen to jazz, and another sitting room to receive guests. Ravel also decides on the decoration, a pastime about which he is passionate, to the point of encroaching on his work as a composer. He once admitted to a friend that he's a sort of Louis II of Baviera, although less odd. He goes as far as stenciling the frieze onto the ceiling and the Greek musicians onto the backs of the dining chairs. A confirmed bachelor, Ravel shares his life with his governess, Madame Révélot, and his small circle of exclusive friends, Le Petit Cénacle. His favourite menu, mackerel in white wine, followed by a large, rare steak, and ending with fruit from the garden, mainly apples and pears. After dinner, we move on to the main sitting room, decorated in the directoire style, tastefully revisited between the wars. The needle on the wireless that informed the composer of the torments of his time remains today on his favourite frequencies. At the end of the corridor is Ravel's office, otherwise known as the composer's cave. To compose a new work, Ravel settles himself at the piano, an Erard baby grand lit by two lamps on which there are faint outlines of children's faces. Ravel sits at his desk to write music. Surrounded by paintings of his family, his engineer father, Joseph, who taught Ravel to appreciate music, his young brother Edouard, to whom he is very close, and his beloved mother, Marie Delois. And opposite his desk, his own portrait at 12 years old, dressed as a Russian prince. For the last few years, Ravel has had difficulty concentrating on his work. It is, however, during this period in this narrow room that he composes his greatest masterpieces, the opera L'Enfant et les Sortilèges, a collection of 3 songs, Les Enfants Madicas, a concerto for the left hand written for the pianist Paul Wittgenstein, who had lost his right arm during the war, the concerto en sol, and of course the famous bolero. At the end of the afternoon, on returning from his forest walks, Ravel retires to the smaller sitting room. Here he admires the uninterrupted view of the church. He sits on the sofa and smokes rough brown tobacco, strokes his Siamese cats, and drinks tea to arrest the boredom. Surrounded and amused by his multicoloured porcelain, all of which are fake. For a while, Ravel has dreamt of adapting Joseph Deltaille's Joan of Arc to music. But now, more than ever, he is having difficulty transcribing the first notes to paper. The symptoms begin to increase, and in 1935, the medics diagnose a neurodegenerative disease, and Ravel is no longer able to compose. He lives henceforth as a hermit in his house in Montfort-l'Amaury. "What are you doing, my dear Ravel?" "I'm waiting," he replies. On his death in 1937, the composer of Bolero leaves no testimony. Only his fragile house, rich in dreams and memories.